Hello, everybody. Hope you guys are having a great Thursday. Been a really busy week for me. I've been working on my landscape photography tutorial, editing away at that. I've been doing a lot of meetings with some companies. I've been dropping a lot more clients so that I can spend more time with you guys, and basically just kind of getting creative, trying to figure out where I want Finding Middle Earth to go from here. So very busy week for me so far. Let's see. Justin Hopgood says, done for the week, ready to go shooting. Oh, yeah. Very nice. Hello, Peter. How you doing? All right. So if you guys were watching my live stream the other night, about 2 or 3 nights ago, I did this whole Q&A thing then. It was really late at night, and it was just an epic fail because I coughed like almost, I don't know, like every sentence I would cough 3 or 4 times because I still have kind of a cold. Luckily, I've been drinking lots of like herbal tea and throat coat stuff, all this different stuff to try to make it go away. And it's actually gone away for the most part. So I don't have a cough right now, which is a great thing. So I'm going to try to do this again. So if you already watched this stream a few nights ago, you'll hear a lot of the same questions. I did pick a few new questions as well, but I'm sorry for that epic fail of a stream. Afterwards, the stream didn't even like look or sound good. So it was just a bad night altogether. I was coughing through it, and then also Google was just screwing with my bandwidth. So I don't really know what was going on. But anyway, yeah. So this week I've met with a few companies that have some new products in the works here locally in Atlanta, and then companies that I was working for, doing photography stuff. I've been just dropping more and more of them so I can focus on this because I see a future here. I like this cool photography community that we're creating together. And I just see way more of a future here instead of shooting real estate and architecture, which is what I mainly do. So over this past, I guess so far this year, I've dropped about 75% of my clients so that I can just focus laser beam on this, which is, I don't even know what this is yet. It's YouTube and photography education and workshops. And I want to do like an online membership site and do some a bunch of like a live class. I'm still working on a lot of stuff. So yeah, anyway, so this is going to be a live Q&A. If you guys want to go ahead and start shooting your questions in the live chat, you can do that. I'm also going to go ahead and read some questions off from this little document I have over here. Where is it at? I pasted a bunch of questions in here. So yeah, I'll go ahead and start reading some of these questions, and then you guys can put your questions in the live chat as well, and we'll go ahead and start. So let me check again real quick. What's up, SC? Hi, Andrea. How you guys doing? Okay, so let's hope I can get through it this time without coughing my head off. All right, first question. Eric, I'm getting into photographing jewelry for a chain of stores in my hometown. Right now, I'm using my old Canon T3i with speed lights in a home studio to do this. What would you recommend for a setup for this? Full frame, Fuji or Nikon, better lighting? Thanks for the input. That's a lot of questions. Okay, so you're using a Canon T3i for jewelry photography in a home studio, and you want to know if you should go full frame or if you should go Fuji or Nikon, better lighting, and a whole setup. Okay, so the first thing I would tell you is examine right now what you're not happy with or what your clients are not happy with, because obviously you're thinking about changing some things because there's something that's not doing the job for you, whether it's image quality or lighting, or maybe your clients are complaining about something. So let's go ahead and get this out of the way. If you want to do this commercially, like commercial jewelry for big chains eventually, you're going to want to go full frame or medium format. You're going to want a lot of detail, a big juicy sensor like a Nikon D810, Canon 5DSR, Fuji GFX, something like that. That's down the road, right? If you want to go that way. Now, I would probably go ahead and start with full frame now, since you do want to get into this whole product photography thing. Because if you're just on a tripod in a studio, like you say you are, you're going to want big, juicy files. So I would definitely go full frame. Not to say that you couldn't accomplish this with a Fujifilm camera or something like that, but again, it's the right tool for the job. So I would probably go full frame, Nikon D810, Canon 5DSR, Fuji GFX if you want to go medium format, something along the lines of that. Again, you don't have to do that right now because it sounds like you're just starting out, but you have a pretty good gig going on. So also, I don't know what kind of home studio, how you're doing this, but they make these little light boxes. It's almost like a big kind of like a big house, like a big tent for the jewelry, and it's like a big white box, and you can put the jewelry or the product in there, and you can light the box from 360 degrees, or not all the way around, but pretty much everywhere except for where the camera is. And you can basically give yourself a very good home studio effect with that. It's just, you can get them for like $50. These big like tents to put jewelry or products in. So that's what I would do. I would go full frame. You said better lighting. I'm not sure what lighting you're using now, but you can get away with home studio stuff just using a few speed lights. You can get some really great results using a few speed lights. So I wouldn't worry too much about going to some big pro photo or Broncolor stuff or anything like that yet. You know, get your feet on the ground. Make sure you really like this industry. You know, get some bigger clients, and then you can move up to bigger and better things. But the first and foremost, you know, examine what your equipment is not doing for you right now. Examine what you need it to do, and that might help you figure out what way you need to go as far as the camera for you. All right, let me check the chat window real quick. See here, I'm going to butcher all these names, but Bavia, I think is what it's called. He says, "Hi, Eric. Have been following you for quite some time. Keep on the good work. Moved to the X-T1 from the Canon 550D recently." That's awesome. Congratulations. I bet you're loving all the manual controls and the ergonomics. That was my biggest shock from going from DSLR to the Fujifilm cameras. I just love the way they feel. They're just fun to use. Javier says, "I'm thinking about purchasing the Fuji 16mm 1.4. Do you think it's a good purchase if I already have a Samyang 12mm f2 and 35 f2? Javier, yes, I do think it's a good purchase because while the Samyang 12mm is a good lens, it will never stand up to the sharpness and the beautiful image quality and the beautiful bokeh of the Fuji 16mm 1.4. You can basically use the Fuji 16mm 1.4 as kind of like a wide angle macro lens. The very minimum focus distance is beautiful. It creates a beautiful bokeh. It's sharp at 1.4. It's sharp at f8. It's sharp everywhere in between. So I would definitely still consider the 16mm Fuji. SC says, second, the question on the 16mm 1.4. I have the 35 and 27, but feel I would love something wider. So the 23 or the 16, but if I could have something that does also decent landscape and astro. If you want to do landscape and astro, and you're trying to decide between the 16 and the 23, definitely go with the 16, especially for astro work, because you get the 1.4 aperture. So you can crank that thing wide open at 1.4, point it up to the sky, shoot it like ISO 1250, 1600, and you'll have beautiful images, as long as there's not a bunch of light pollution around you. Peter says, looking to upgrade to the to 2107 2017 13-inch MacBook Pro to process my photos. Thoughts? Would a desktop be better? I definitely wouldn't do the 2017 MacBook Pros. You know, it's weird. I have this kind of weird thinking with Apple right now, because I used to work for Apple and I was like in love with all their products, and still am. I still love their products, but their MacBook Pros don't really seem to be giving you that much more speed, per year for the money they're charging. So if budget is a concern at all, I would look for a MacBook Air that's maybe like 1 year older, and get like a maxed out one instead of like a middle of the line 2017. Because I don't really think the 2017 MacBook Pros are going to give you like amazing speed over the 2016 MacBook Pros. Not that they're bad computers, but in the end, if you're asking laptop versus desktop, I do all of my professional stuff on a desktop. Now, if you travel, that's where you might want to get like just a really beefed up laptop, which isn't going to be the 13. You're going to want to go with the 15-inch, like maxed out. So yeah, I edit with the 2015, I think it is 2015 iMac 5K, and I've been relatively happy with that. I maxed it out with 32 gigs of RAM and the 4 gig graphics card, and sometimes it's still not as fast as I would like it to be. So yeah, I would still recommend desktop over laptop, but it depends on if you're a perpetually traveling photographer. Bavia again says, wide angle lens query, Samyang 12mm or Fuji 14mm. Most of my work is landscape. If you're asking between those two only, go with the Fuji 14mm. Andrea says, did you buy the 16 1.4? I still have not bought the 16 1.4. I sold my 56 1.2 to get the 16 1.4, and I just still haven't purchased it yet. I think I'm just kind of waiting for the holiday deals to come around where they take a couple $100 off the lenses or $100 off. Yeah, I mean, I'm not made of money, so I'm just kind of waiting around to see if there's another Fuji deal that comes along, or I'll probably pick one up secondhand or something. Javier says, "Thanks so much, Eric." Cool, no problem. Sky LVRK, I don't know. I'm gonna butcher all these names. Says, or wait on the new iMac Pro in December. Crazy specs, but also 5K. Yeah, the iMac Pro does have crazy specs, for the price, it's an expensive computer, but for the price of the iMac Pro, you actually do seem to get a lot. I can't speak to that though because I haven't actually used it. I would love to play around with the iMac Pro and actually see how much faster it is from my iMac 5K maxed out. Let's see. SC says, "Thanks, Eric. The 16 seems to be the dream on the wide side from Fuji. Is it too tight for landscape though because of crop factor?" So that's a good question. The 16 millimeter does end up being about a 24 millimeter equivalent, as far as 35 millimeter equivalent. So it is basically a 24 millimeter lens if you're talking about 35 equivalent. It's great for landscapes, but if you do need something wider, I went with the 10 to 24. I really do enjoy the 10 to 24 for the wider shots. It's not a bad lens at all, but it's not quite as sharp as the 16 to 55 or the 16 1.4. But it is still a very capable wide angle lens. It's very sharp. It's just not quite as sharp. It's a little soft in the corners, which is kind of typical with ultra wide angle lenses. So I find that as long as I'm shooting like f7.1 on, like f7.1 to f11 from my testing on the 10 to 24, you get pretty sharp, corner to corner. So yeah, the 10 to 24 you'll definitely want probably in combination with the 16, just so you have an ultra wide if you want some like big dominant foreground element. But with that close focusing distance of the 16 1.4, that's going to give you those really nice dominant foreground as well, especially if you want to do this whole like landscape bokeh effect that's been getting kind of popular, where people will do this big wide landscape vista, but the background will kind of be in like a soft bokeh, and there'll be like a really sharp rock or something in the foreground. Let's see here. SC says, "You sold the 56. What are you using for portraiture instead?" Yeah, I sold the 56 just because I don't use it enough. It's a beautiful lens. I mean, it is an unbelievable lens. I just didn't use it enough to justify having a $1,000 lens in my bag. That's basically what it came down to. For portraiture right now, I'm using the 35 f2, which is just an absolutely perfect lens in my opinion. That's anytime that I'm just going out shoot like with my family, it's either going to be the 18 to 55 or the 35, and most of the time lately it's been the 35 f2 because it's just so creamy. It's a beautiful lens. It is so tiny. So yeah, most of the pictures taken of like my family and my daughter are with the 35 f2. Photo video show. What's up, Mark? He says the 16 is my favorite lens. It lives on my X-T2. Yeah, I know, man. And every time you come to this freaking chat window, you always make me want to just go buy one right now. Gosh, yeah. If you guys want to know, like, if you guys want to see a bunch of photos from the 16 1.4, go check out the photo video show on YouTube and his Instagram. And he posts some incredible black and white photos that he uses with the X-T2 and the 16 1.4. They're incredible. The contrast is incredible. The sharpness is incredible. They're great. So yeah, if you want to see a lot of black and white work specifically with the 16 1.4, and you want to see how wide it looks, check out some of his cityscape work. It's really nice. All right, so let's get back to a couple of questions over here while the live chat's building up. Let's see. Why haven't you bought the GFX yet and sold the X-T2? Not really suited for landscapes. So that's kind of a confusing question because you're partially right. So no, the X-T2 is not suited for landscapes. It's not made for landscapes like, for example, the D810 or the GFX. But the reason I haven't bought the GFX is because I don't need it. I really want it. I don't need it. And it would be really stupid of me, as I'm dropping clients right now and trying to go full-time YouTube and photography education. It would be really stupid of me to take my money and buy a $6,500 camera with $2,000 lenses. So it's just not, I really want it. I don't need it. I'd love Fujifilm to be able to send me one to play with it. That would be awesome. But I just don't need one right now. It's going to take beautiful images. It'll take unbelievable landscapes, and it'll probably make unbelievable prints from my landscapes. but I just don't need it. The D810 is awesome, and I have the D810 and the XT2. So why haven't I sold the XT2? It's simply because I like having both. It's, that's the only way I can sleep at night, is if I go to sleep knowing that I have my Nikon full frame and I have my XT2, all is right in the world. I'm a happy man. Let's refer back here. SC says, what do you guys think of the new 50 f2? Promise, this is the last gear question. I'm debating the portraiture side between the 56, 60 and the new 50. I'm assuming you're talking about the 60 macro. A lot of people are going to have this debate between the 56 and the 50. The 50 f2 is a beautiful lens. It is weather sealed, whereas the 56 1.2 is not. I don't know if that matters to you. And the 56 has the 1.2 and doesn't have, it does have a little bit better bokeh than the f2. At least from what I've seen. I have not played with the 50 f2 personally. So I don't know. That's a tough question. I don't own all three of those. I can tell you that for the time that I did own the 56 1.2, which is about 4 months, the images were incredible. Tack sharp, incredible. The photo video, you're so sweet. Want to make out? Sure, man. Yeah, absolutely. You're only in Kentucky. You're like what, 4 hours, 5 hours away from me? I'll just drive up there tonight. Peter says going Fujifilm X-T2 very soon. Awesome. Yeah, I see that. I see that all the time. It's crazy. Everyone right now is seeing Fuji's like the hot thing. Everyone's selling their Nikons and their Canons and their Micro Four Thirds, and they're all hopping on the Fuji train. Excuse me. All right, let's do another question over here. Let's see. Let me pick a good one. Are you going to buy the new D810 replacement? And what are your thoughts on the 100 megapixel sensor? I don't know if I'm going to buy the new D810 replacement yet. From everything I've heard, which is not by any like Nikon sources, it's just from reading the internet and going to some rumor sites. From everything I've seen and heard, it looks like it's going to be basically the D810 with a little megapixel bump, the D5 autofocus system, an XQD card slot, and as far as dynamic range, that's what I'm waiting for. I don't know if it's going to have the same amazing dynamic range as the D810, because if you bump the megapixels, you improve the high ISO performance. I don't know how they're going to keep that. I would love it if they did. I would love it if they improved the dynamic range. What I would be fine with them keeping the megapixels the same, and just improving the autofocus and the dynamic range. I don't really care so much about the high ISO. I know a lot of people do, but I'm a landscape guy. So, to me, high ISO is like ISO 200. So I mainly shoot at ISO 64 on my D810 or the native ISO 200 on the XT2. But yeah, I personally don't think I'm going to buy it. I thought I was at one point, but now that I'm hearing that there's not going to be a big bump in megapixels or a big bump in dynamic range, the dynamic range is rumored to where it might even go down a little bit. So I don't know. I think it's not going to be that big of a change for landscape photographers. I think it's going to be great for wedding events, portrait. I think for even some fast action people that want high megapixels, if you do. I don't know, but I can't say. I don't have any connections with Nikon sources or anything like that. So right now, I think I'm just going to hang on to my D810. But if it comes out and it's something unbelievable with some 100 megapixel sensor, then sure, I'm definitely going to look at it, obviously. But I don't think it's going to have some crazy high megapixel sensor. I think it's going to be right around what we're hearing, which is 45, 46, maybe 50 megapixels, somewhere around there. Let's see here. Check back. Man, I got a lot of chat window activity while I read that question. Let's see here. John says 90 millimeter versus the 50 to 140 millimeter. Would you prefer one over the other? And if so, why? I have not used the 50 to 140. I know it's a good lens. It's a great lens. I have used the 90 millimeter, and I can tell you that's like one of the sharpest lenses I've ever used ever in the history of ever. So I'm sure the 50 to 140 is very good, but I don't know what you're using it for either. I don't know if you're using it for like event or just portraiture or whatever, but the 90 millimeter is just ridiculously sharp. Justin Hopgood says that is the same beautiful black and white work, that is some beautiful black and white work, shoot color, go to black and white and post process. That's a good question. Mark can answer that for you. I think Mark shoots in the Acros film simulation, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. Most of the time I use the Acros film simulation, tweak the contrast in post. Yeah, the Acros film simulation is just too beautiful not to use if you're going to shoot black and white. The Vet Memorial was great. Just got a 16 and starting to play with it. That's awesome. Photo Video Show said the JPEGs are fantastic. Yes, they are. Let me catch up here. I got a lot more coming in. SC says, Mark, do you set up the shadows and highlights in camera before shooting? It's very contrasty. The Photo Video Show says, I use Apple Photos. Peter says, does off-camera flash work well for X-T2? Yeah, if you use the right stuff. If you use Nissan or the Fujifilm flashes, or now Godox and Cactus there's a lot of flash options for Fujifilm now. And from what I hear, I can't remember who it was. I can't remember if it was Profoto or if it was Broncolor. One of the big studio flash companies is coming out with some more options for Fujifilm soon as far as the triggers go. So that will be nice if that happens. Justin Hobgood says, I just got the 55-200. Looking forward to shooting the Eclipse, etc. But we should probably stop hijacking his chat. No, you guys have fun. This is what I'm talking about. See, I love the fun community and chat that we always have going on. That's why I'm kind of laying off the full-time photographer and just focusing on this, because I just feel something good here. Fuji Rumor says Elinchrom. Ah, cool. What's up, Patrick? Okay, so it's Elinchrom. I knew it was one of the big studio flash companies. And I think I read it on Fuji Rumors, as a matter of fact. Photo Video Show says I reduce the contrast in the camera so that I can adjust it myself after the fact. Awesome. Yeah, I know. I don't know what you do with those photos, Mark. I think you're lying. There's no way you use Apple Photos. You've probably written some software just for black and whites, and you're never going to tell anybody about it, because I have shot in the Acros film simulation. I don't know. I can't get it the same look as you can so far. Maybe it's just I need to go into the city and shoot directly up the buildings like you do with the light at this perfect time. But your black and whites are just incredible. Martin says, just came back from a 2-week trip in Iceland. That's awesome. Use the X-T2 with 16-55 and 55-200, and been very happy with the results. That's awesome, Martin. Maybe you can post a link to some photos that you took in Iceland? I'd love to see those. Because I love, man, Iceland's like my bucket list trip. I'd love to go there one day. So yeah, I want to shoot the Godafoss waterfall, Kirkjafell. I want to do the ice caves. Seljalandsfoss is another waterfall I want to shoot. There's a million of them there that I'm just dying to shoot. I'm going to go there one day too. It's going to be in the next couple of years. I'm going to plan a trip there. All right, let's do some other questions here. Let's see. I'm taking a year off work to backpack through Europe. What would you recommend as the best landscape photography backpack for my trip? Keep in mind size and weight for travel. I would have to know how much gear you're taking. That would be my question. If you're just taking one camera and a lens and you want room for some clothes and stuff and snacks, there's a really good Lowepro bag, the Lowepro Flipside 450 AW. It's kind of a smaller version of the Lowepro Whistler bag. It's still a backloader bag, so you can unzip it from the back, and it still has the the waist belt, so you can kind of flip it around and unload the bag like this front ways and get your gear out without having to take the bag off. So yeah, I would probably recommend that one, especially since you said backpack. I definitely wouldn't recommend a messenger bag if you're going to be hiking through Europe. And then if you want to go, full, just a big bag and hold a bunch of stuff, I'd go with the Lowepro Whistler 450. That's a pretty big bag, but I think it still complies with airline guidelines. So yeah, that'll hold. That right now has my X-T1 and X-T2 and 5 Fuji lenses and then a bunch of accessories and stuff. And it still has a bunch of big zippers up front for snacks and clothes. You could go camping for a couple of days just using that one bag, especially with all the straps on the side. You can strap on a tent and some cookware and all that kind of good stuff. Okay, let me check back chat window. That name that I can't pronounce, Sky LVRK, kind of off topic. I mean, not really, but how do you feel about going to school for photography or photojournalism? I don't really have a feeling on that, to be honest. I'm not sure. I'll tell you a little story. So I went to school for sales and marketing, and it's helped me in running a business. I never went to school for anything artsy, and every friend that I have that has gone to school for something artsy, because I have multiple friends that went to school for recording engineering, like audio engineer, and all of them are still trying to figure out how to get in the door. So I don't necessarily know in the art world how well that will help you, like a photojournalism degree, unless you want to get in with an actual, like, the New York Times or some kind of big newspaper publication. That's when it would probably come in handy, because having a degree is probably a requirement there. But if you're wanting to start your own business, get a sales and marketing degree, or business, something involving business. Because I can tell you, if you're running a photography business, the photography portion, and this is going to sound horrible, but you have to be a better business person and better at marketing than you are as a photographer. There are so many photographers out there that aren't that great, but they are amazing at business and marketing, and they're going to be 10 times more successful than the guy that's an amazing photographer but has no business experience. So that would be my 2 cents there. Let's see. Photo video show and Fuji rumors. You guys are having some romance in the chat there. Nice. Photo video says, I think photography school at this point would be a waste of money, but that's just my opinion. Yeah, I would tend to agree. Again, unless you're wanting to work for like a specific big company where they require a degree, if you're just wanting to start your own photo business, I would just go get some real world experience. Try to make it. Just try to make it. Fail a bunch of times, and finally you won't fail. I've failed a million times at a million different things, and eventually I decided on photography, and I've failed with photography multiple times, and it just kind of started to work. I've tried to start this photography business like 3 or 4 times in my life, and I've failed miserably. And then finally one time when I quit my job and I did it again, it just worked. And I just tried different paths each time, not genres, but different paths on how to make it work. And finally I got to quit my job and do this. So it's kind of funny that I'm quitting photography, everything that I've built so far, which has been like architecture and real estate. I'm just kind of getting bored with it. And I started this YouTube channel to just kind of try something different, and I'm loving it. I'm loving having cool people to talk to and getting to meet cool people. And I like this whole community thing that we're building. So that's why I'm dropping almost all of my clients. By the end of this year, I'm hoping to just do photography education, sell my tutorials on my website, do workshops, travel a lot, and just meet all of you wonderful people that watch me all the time. So that's what I want to do. David says, what are your thoughts on watermarking your photos for social media? I watermark my photos on Facebook, just specifically because people have already come to my Facebook and liked my page. So they're already there waiting to see my work. And I have had a couple of photos that have been, you could say, stolen, not like for a bad reason or with bad intentions, but I've had a couple of blogs, and even one that got published that was taken without my permission. So I had to contact the company and go through this whole just hurricane of crap, basically. But because of that, I do watermark my photos on Facebook. I'd never watermark my photos on Instagram, simply because you can't really, the worst you can do on Instagram to steal somebody's photo is just you'd have to screenshot it, and then you get this crappy little, low resolution thing. So I personally just do not watermark my photos anywhere except for Facebook. Even on my blog, they are watermarked, but that's just because they're already watermarked on my server, and I just share them from my server to my blog. But I will tell you this: I have noticed that when people watermark their photos, people in general are a little more scared and timid to share them. And I have noticed that, whenever I post photos, because I'll try it sometimes. I'll try to share photos that are not watermarked. And I tend to notice they do get shared more, because when people see a watermark, they're always like, ooh, if I share this, am I going to get in trouble or something? So, I like that, and I don't like that, because like I said, I've had a couple of my photos stolen before, and it's that's something you have to make a decision for you. A lot of people hate watermarks. I just do it on Facebook mainly. Just because Facebook allows you to click on the photo and download the photo and all this stuff. I wish more social media places would give you the option not to right click and just steal the image. But I always upload pretty lower resolution images on social media. So if you don't want to watermark your images, I would recommend just going into Photoshop and doing basically exporting it for the web and doing a lower resolution that's still sharp. Let's see here. Peter says, I don't like watermarks. The work will speak for itself. Yeah, I agree. I mean, if people are still going to find a way to steal your images if they really want to, for a vicious reason, if they want to, clone out your watermark. I just have always done it just because I had that happen to me. Eventually, I'll probably stop doing it. But yeah, if you don't like it, more power to you. That's fine. Photo video show says, me either. Most of them are pretty cheesy anyway. The cheesy ones are like the big, like cursive with the big logo of the website. I don't do that. Mine just simply says copyright Eric Marks. That's all I need on there. I don't need some big fancy logo on there. Let's see. Yeah, I feel like you can learn as much as you can online compared to school. But like you said, certain jobs, you need that degree. I'm a year away from marketing degree anyways. Also, the V is an A. Oh, and your name. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I see. I can't pronounce names that are. See, your name to me looks like a gamer tag instead of a name like everyone else's. So I didn't even try to pronounce it. Scott Patterson says, hope it works out for you, Eric. Thank you very much, Scott. Photo video show says, this is a good topic. Might make a video on it. Yeah, man. If you make a video on it, bring me in on it. We can talk about that because you don't use watermarks and I do. So that'll be a fun thing to chat about. Jack says, do you think Fuji will produce any larger glass than the 100 to 400? Would like to see a 400 millimeter f4 or a 5.6? I don't know. I hope they do, but I don't know. I just don't have any, rumors or sources on that, so I'm not sure. Peter says, what does a great landscape photo will only get a few likes and a naked lady gets, why? Yeah, why does a great landscape photo get a few likes and a naked lady gets thousands on Instagram? That's just because people are disgusting. That's why. No, not really. It's just there's just online, there tends to be a bigger market for portrait photography versus landscape photography, unless you find that little group of landscape photographers. People just tend to click like on portraits and families and happy faces versus big landscape vistas. Mark says, do you have any big photo trips planned this year? Yeah, I'm going to Arizona in a couple of months to photograph the Grand Canyon. I'm going there to photograph Horseshoe Bend and Antelope Canyon. I'm hoping that'll still work out. So yeah, I'm planning on going there the next couple months. Other than that, next year, I want to go to Iceland. Caught up on the live chat. All right, let me ask one more question, and then I'm going to get off here. I just got a text message from the wife saying that dinner is ready, so I'll make sure I'm quick on that. All right, last question here says, Eric, I'm going to Disney in 1 week. What kit should I take? The XT2 with the 18 to 55 and the 55 to 200, or the XT2 with the 16 to 55 and the 18 to 135? Also, grip or no grip? I definitely wouldn't take the 16 to 55. That's a really heavy lens. I took it to Disney World, and I wish that I wouldn't have. It's heavy, it's bulky, it took up too much room in my bag, and I used the 18 to 55 95% of the time. So I would probably leave out the 16 to 55. I would roll with the 18 to 55 and the 55 to 200. That way you have your like mid-range zoom and your telephoto, and they're both semi-light lenses. Or you can just take the 18 to 135 and just one lens and have it be that. But I would probably take the 18 to 55 and the 55 to 200. And then you said grip or no grip. I would probably grip the XT2. However, if I could do it all over again, I might not have, just because the XT2 is nice without the grip as well. And you can just carry 3 or 4 extra batteries around in the bag. So if you do want the grip, obviously you'll have 3 batteries there that you probably won't have to change the batteries at all for a day of shooting. But if you don't mind carrying a couple extra batteries and you'd rather shave the weight, then just ditch the grip. But I would definitely go with the 18 to 55 and 55 to 200 for the Disney trip there. Photo video show says titles equal titties. Yes. Titties are more interesting, hills to climb. Yes. Yeah, I got that. Did I say titles earlier when I read that thing? Sorry, I knew what I meant. I probably just didn't read it right. If you haven't noticed, I haven't been wearing my glasses in a lot of my videos. I was getting some serious hate comments about my glasses because my glasses reflect in my computer screen, so people can't see my eyes. So I'm having to like squint to read this stuff. I don't have contacts. I just wear my glasses because I have a hard time seeing like kind of like mid-range. I can see extreme close-up and I can see extreme distance, but I had to get them for driving because my mid-range, like reading signs and stuff, is pretty bad, and especially with small print. So I just don't wear my glasses anymore for these kind of videos because a lot of people were basically like telling me to go jump off a cliff because they couldn't see my eyes for some reason. So yeah, I'm having trouble reading some of these sometimes. So you'll have to bear with me. Peter says, thank you, Eric. You're the man. Thank you, Peter. Photo Video Show says 18 to 55, most underrated lens. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. All right, cool. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and there's like a million more questions here that I'll put in another video. I'm going to go ahead and eat dinner with the wife because I don't want to get in trouble. A happy wife is a happy life, ladies and gentlemen. That is what I will leave you with today. So I'm not going to keep the wife waiting. All right, well, thank you guys so much for watching the stream. Of course, if you have any other questions, leave them in the comments. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.